Welcome back, everybody, for another week of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. We're super excited to hit episode 10 here. We just want to give a shout out to everyone for tuning in so far, and we're really excited here the next couple weeks. We got some awesome guests coming on that hopefully, give everyone lots of insight, and you get to learn something about everyone that comes on here. So we're going to kick it off this week with Kaden Johnson. I think everyone knows Kaden for sure, and he's one of my good buddies, and we're excited to catch up with him and fill you guys in on what's been going on. So hope you guys enjoy.
And our supreme champion female is our national champion, Charlet. I feel the power of Tim Bullock.
She's not just a lady for a day, she's lady for life. Wheatland Lady 211H and Wheatland Bull 4170.
They've done it again. Our grand champion, supreme champion, Wheatland Cow. Did you feel the tremor? KR Tremor 7015L from KR Land and Cattle and KFC Farms. Your Charlet Supreme Champion Bull 2025.
Welcome to the Next Gen Cattle Podcast.
If you're a cattle producer who understands that stress, environment, and transition directly impact performance, this will resonate. We're Kim and Jackie from Grow Your Life, where we support producers behind the scenes because regulated humans make clear decisions that protect the bottom line. We also teach AIM, the Animal Intuitive Method, a practical body-based system used with cattle herds to help animals settle, realign, and return to function during calving, weaning, hauling, breeding, and change. When people and animals are regulated, losses go down and outcomes improve. Find us at Grow Your Life with Kim and Jackie on Apple and Spotify and at aimhealing.ca.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 10 of the Next Gen Cattle Podcast. We're really excited to have Kaden Johnson on this week, so welcome, Kaden.
Thank you, Mitch. I'm pretty pumped to be on here. Watched a lot of the episodes and really like what you're doing here.
Yeah, for sure. It was good to catch up with you that night and kind of chat about it also. It was good for sure. Where kind of, Kaden, did your love for agriculture kind of first come to be?
Well, I was born and raised in it, really, and started out I was always obsessed with cows from a young age, and we always had commercials, and they weren't nothing fancy, but was really obsessed with them. Mom and Dad really brought me everywhere they went, and so that got me into it pretty good too. And I was just involved with everything from the time I could walk. Mom and Dad weren't super worried about me, I guess you could say. They were pretty confident as long as I was with them, and they let me run any piece of equipment from a young age, and that really got me keen on it. And yeah, it kind of stuck with me ever since.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think what would be like one of those core memory things like as a kid that you kind of like remember always doing?
Usually it was just pasture hauls and whatnot with Mom and Dad. You get to go travel the countryside with a load of cows on and go see some different country. And when we were bringing cows home, you always got to go tour that country with your neighbors that would come help and whatever. We had a big crew going, and that was always a core memory for me.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe just talk about kind of your operation now and kind of growing up and kind of how it's evolved into the purebred side of things for you now.
Yeah, you betcha. So as of right now, I'm third generation. We just got the home place here. It's Mom and Dad and myself. And my sister's not super involved in it, but that's okay, more for me. And we've got about 65 head of cows as of right now, mix of commercials and purebreds. We were up to, close to 180 at one point, but had a bad drought there for a long time, so didn't really feel like paying out a bunch of feed money. And started purebreds. I would have bought my first one. Should have been a heifer calf as a G, however many years ago that would have been. And got her from the Scores dispersal there at the Innisfail auction market. And I think I paid $2,500 for her, Captain Morgan daughter. And she was always a nice cow to look at. And that's what kind of fueled it for me. And then next year just started going out to a bunch of sales and picking up one or two females a year. And now we're kind of really taking off. compared to what we have been in previous years.
For sure. What's kind of that number that you want to get to in terms of like a purebred cow herd, do you think?
My ideal number would be that, I don't know, 50 to 75 would be my ideal number. Like, just enough to manage for one guy for a while, and then still pays the bills,
For
have
sure.
enough bulls for a bull sale, fun
And
show string.
yeah, and just you want to kind of focus on more of the purebred thing versus the commercial side.
110%, yeah.
Nice. And I guess that kind of rolls into our next question here pretty well. It was actually a question that we had a listener send in, and I was kind of waiting for the right person, and I think you'd be a great fit, I guess, for both of us kind of with this topic. So there's 3 questions that go to this. How does a young person like us face the challenge of competing and breeding against multi-generational operations? So like, I guess just kind of like starting out, what are a couple things that, you feel, kind of like you might not have that advantage against some of the other people, that have been breeding for, 2 or 3 generations or upwards of 100 years.
Yeah. I think like a big one for me is like they've had a previous generation to learn from, and like a grandpa or dad or whatever, right? And
For sure.
like I don't have that, and I'm kind of learning from scratch. Now I do have a lot of mentors within the breeds and whatnot, and a lot of good people I can turn to for questions. But yeah, they've had the previous generation, and I'm just kind of picking it up as I go.
For sure.
Another point I kind of thought about was just the numbers overall, right? Like they're going to have 150, 200 cows, and I've got 15 to 25, right?
For sure. 100%.
And so just kind of working with what I got, building as I go, and hoping to get where I want to.
For sure. And I think one thing too, at least one thing, I noticed kind of, and I was really lucky because I kind of got to hit the reset button a little bit. Like I had the Angus herd in Ontario and kind of got to figure it out. And then when I moved out here, I said, what, like I've kind of learned a lot through, the last, let's say 5 or 6 years. And I wanted to kind of, not that I wanted to reset, but I felt it was a good kind of spot to, like take a step back and kind of, evaluate what I've learned on both sides and kind of see, what would work or what wouldn't work. And I think one big thing for me was, I think nowadays, for both of us, we show up to a sale, there's a lot of conversation that happens, between breeders and all that. But, the first sale I went to with my dad, like we didn't know anybody and nobody knew us, right? So there isn't really that conversation of, like, oh, like, like, what are you looking for? And I think as much as, as an industry, we try our best to, like welcome people in and talk to people at, a sale, but everybody knows there's always that person that, you see and you're like, oh, like I had never seen you before. And like, not that you brushed off your shoulder, but maybe it's just not as intriguing for you to go and talk to that person. Right. And
For sure.
That was one thing for me that I really noticed, kind of was something that I always thought just, you don't have that connection kind of right out of the gate, right? To, get in with someone or, get to know people a little bit easier that way, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, that feeling of when you don't know anybody and you get brushed off, it sucks. And so now, like, if you go to a sale, you got to be open and willing to talk to anybody because they could be spending 10,000 on a bull for you in a few months, 100%. Right?
Yeah, and I think now, in the day and age we're in now, I think everyone can agree that there is, more and more investors and people who've never had cows before or who don't have cows that, might just show up to a sale and spend
exactly
$10,000, $30,000, $40,000 on one, right? And I think it's definitely something that I agree with you on that one about making sure that even if you don't know the person or even if you do know them but you don't know them that well, that you spend the time to kind of
for sure
and see where they're at, for sure.
Back in my second year of Olds College there, we had a project. It was right during bull sale season, and the farm team there at the college was looking to buy a bull. And so we had to go out, go through a bunch of catalogs, pick, I think, 3 bull candidates that would work, that can maybe be in the college's price range, and like compile a list of information about them and then send it off. And our whole class had to do it. And, I was really kicking myself that I didn't put any of my own bulls in there, which I don't know why I didn't. And then later on, and I think would have been end of March there at our bull sale, uh, Olds College came out and bought our top seller for 12.5. And I
Yeah,
was
for
like,
sure.
then I was looking back, I was like, why didn't I pick my own? But
For
whatever, it
sure.
worked out in the end, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's all those things, right? That like, and it is harder to sell something that you kind of, at least for me, I don't like being that guy who like, you're trying to sell your own stuff. Like for me, like today, for example, I was clipping bulls. I saw a bull that, I thought would fit, someone's kind of program really well. So, you take
For
a
sure.
video, you send them the video and you talk about it. But for me, it's way easier to sell someone else's,
Oh,
bull or heifer or
110%.
cow versus it is, to talk your own stuff up, right? Why
Oh,
that is, I don't really
110%.
know, but just that's kind of
Yeah.
what I've found. It's way easier to sell someone else's than your own for sure.
Oh, exactly.
I guess the next question that goes with this is what are some advantages and disadvantages, what advantages and disadvantages does this give us as breeders starting from square one without, any previous kind of cow herd, I guess, to back us?
I think a good advantage would be you can easily piggyback off another breeder's genetics, and like they've had to go through the trial and error, like test the time to make sure these genetics work, and then now they got these cow families that work great, and you can hop on that with skipping the whole tried and true, right?
100% for sure.
And I found that a negative would be it's tougher to bank on 2 to 3 cool calves, like for me, when a lot of these bigger breeders have like 50 to 70 of the identical calves, you know what I
For
mean?
sure. 100%.
And so, yeah, like I'm banking on those, and one breaks a leg,
Right.
and I'm out that.
For sure.
Whereas if that happens to them, it still sucks, obviously, but it's easier recoverable for them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and two, I think I think everyone knows you can have, 3 full sibs and they can be, look completely different, or, one could be a total ripper and,
Yeah.
the next one you're not as impressed with too, right? So,
Well, for sure.
and I think for us, it's like, you let's say you put 1 egg in or 2 eggs in or 3 eggs in. Well, if you're competing against and, breeding against people who are putting, 15 or 20 of the exact
Yeah.
same eggs in, right? And with that, if they get, let's say 5 calves out of that or 6 calves, versus us, we put 3 in, you might get 1 if you're lucky.
For sure. Well, it was
So-
like my first year trying embryos. It was a couple years ago, I guess. And had bought a pack and put them all in, and only one stuck, and which I was happy with. One's better than nothing. And then went out to Agribition, and it was the day that I got back. Mom and Dad went to Mexico, and this was, the week after Agribition. And so, Mom and Dad take off to Mexico, and I'm going out to check cows, and I see her calving. And it was 45 days early, and so I run her up quick and just checked her, and yeah, sure enough, she was calving, and it was 10, 15-pound calf, and was alive for maybe 10 minutes, and
Yeah.
you only get guaranteed a 90-day pregnancy, right?
Right.
And way past that 90 days, which is, it happens, right? Like you can't,
100%.
that's what you put yourself up to if you get after it. And now this year we're bumped up to, like so far I got 10 embryos ready to go, and hoping to get up to 15 by spring.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet.
And so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll touch on that too a bit. I think one advantage, at least I found is, especially doing it the second time around, I think the first time, I was, the whole purebred thing, I was only, 15 years old and pretty new to the, the purebred thing. And Mom and Dad, they were into purebred Dexters and kind of, it's a little bit of a different ball game for sure when you start going to sales and all of that. And I was pretty fresh going into it. I made a lot of mistakes now that I look back and I'm like, man, like what was I thinking? But I think definitely like starting from square one now and, having a more knowledge, I guess, in that sense is finding the right one, not just finding one. Right. So I think, going to sales and seeing a lot more cattle and finding one that fits your program and fits what you're looking for versus just buying one, because she's, let's say she's $5,000, so I'm gonna buy her. And that was back in the day. I don't know, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find a purebred heifer for $5,000 now, but
Yeah.
or let's say it's 20 or whatever the number is, right?
Yeah.
And finding one that's gonna fit your program and kind of what you want to build versus just buying one just because you can, right? For sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
One thing for me that I definitely kind of learned from the first time around, for sure.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like exactly same as us. Like, money doesn't always grow on trees, and so you got to be really picky with what you're buying and make sure it's going to work for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, and I guess the last part to this question, what do you think that we can do as the next gen to grow our herds and to ensure that our herds continue to grow for generations, past ours?
Yeah, I think a really important part of that is what I was kind of touching on there in the last question was be super picky. Like, you got to have quality over quantity. Like, don't just go out to buy anything. Or if you got a replacement heifer that's not perfect footed or not really great footed, don't be afraid to get rid of her, right?
For sure.
But you could take her to the mart and still get that $400 to $4,500 for her, or whatever they're at right now, and put that towards a pack of embryos or something, right?
100%.
And so yeah, that's just the way I see it, is be picky. Same with your bulls. Like, if they're not quite what you would use on your own cows, then why make your customers use them on theirs, right?
100%. Yeah. For sure.
And yeah, especially with us having such low numbers, and which, yeah, I'd like more numbers. I'd rather have low numbers with a high caliber quality than high numbers with lower quality. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, and I think that all goes, kind of making a sustainable cow herd too, right? And that's one thing I kind of got caught up with in Ontario was, like numbers, and, trying to buy cows. And it's like, in the moment when you buy them, you're like, oh man, like, I'm going to have these cows, for, 6, 8, 10 years. And
Exactly.
they're going to pay themselves back. And I can promise you that most of those cows did not pay themselves back when I went to sell.
Oh, no. Yeah, right.
And I think kind of just a little point to round it all off, I think, doing it on your own, not necessarily on your own, but kind of like building that legacy so that if you have kids one day or
for sure
grandkids or whatever, then they can say, oh, like this was started by this person, right? And
for sure.
And then, but one thing I do hope is that I think now some people kind of, at least for us, I'll speak for myself, and then you can kind of add on to, but I think that, some of the, whether it's younger people or older people, they kind of forget, the struggles and the grind it really takes to get to that, point where, they're at now, right? I do hope that, some people, and people remember, how hard somebody had to work and somebody, all the hard times they had to go through kind of to get to that point where they get to be now, for sure, right?
Oh, for sure. And like looking back on this summer getting cattle ready for shows, like it was a struggle, like me, mom and dad all work off farm. And so whenever mom's home, she's getting show cattle ready and she's just learning too, right?
For sure.
And so like I'm out at work and I'm on FaceTime with her trying to tell her how to do stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so then when I'd come home some days, if mom didn't get a chance, when I got home from work late at night, I'd go tie up the calf and start clipping and washing and whatnot, and I'd be out there till 1 a.m.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, it's just there's a lot goes into it, and no matter where you are, who you are, it takes a lot of you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the nice thing is too is like I think one thing that, and it kind of goes with what you just said too. Like my parents had, they'd never shown cows before. I started kind of taking a liking to it, and it sounds like it's the same with your parents. And the willingness for them, to kind of to see that, they see like the love of it and everything, and like the amount of times now I take it for granted living out here and how easy it was for me to not be home one night and just say to mom and dad, oh, do you mind feeding my cows for me?
Yeah, exactly. Right?
And if only now living out here, like it could just be easy to just be like, hey, do you guys mind just feeding my cows quick for me while I'm gone or whatever? Like it's
exactly right.
It's definitely an eye-opening experience, and like obviously I'm super thankful for all they did for me and all
for
they
sure.
do for me now, but it's definitely, everyone make sure you thank your parents for sure.
Oh God, I couldn't do any of this without my parents. Like Dad feeding cows when I'm at a show, or even when I'm home, he's still feeding cows, and me and Mom are doing other things, right?
For
And
sure.
Mom picking up the slack when I can't really do much or when I'm gone. And like when I go to clip bulls during the winter time, who knows how far away, and it's right during calving too. And so
Yeah,
they're picking up
for
the
sure.
slack on that front. And yeah, I really thankful I couldn't do it without them.
For sure. Well, that kind of wraps up our discussion, so we'll get into some more some more average questions now, I guess.
Yeah.
Favorite show and why?
I got two favorites I really liked. My first would be Old Fall Classic, just because it's a pretty laid back show. It's backyard show for me. It's only 25 minutes away, and like after a long day, like it's always a good time at the local watering holes or whatever
For sure.
with all
And
the
you can
guys.
bring your own booze in there.
Exactly, right? You can't go wrong with that. And yeah, just a great show, a good town to be in. If I forget something, I'm not far away from home, so it's quite
sure.
nice that way.
I think it's always nice too to just kind of kick off. Like it's kind of the first, like bigger one of the year, right? It's always nice. Like everyone
Yeah,
kinda
I've always
gets to see each other, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've always been told it's like the feeler show to get the
Yeah,
feels
totally.
out there for what
Yeah.
everybody's got, what you've
Yeah.
got, how you compare. My next favorite would be a show I attended this summer, the Oil Country Classic there in Drayton Valley. So Tel Calvert and his family put that one on, and it was such a fun time. It was just it was a 1 day show, and yeah, it was a great time. Nice small town. And Tell showed us some great hospitality on the town after the show, and
Go figure.
yeah, shocker, right?
Shout out to Tell.
Yeah, shout out to Tell. What a stud. And yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I'm definitely going back.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's your most memorable show memory outside of, like winning a class or a banner, like something outside of the cattle side of things?
I'd say that World Simmental Week back in 2024 there in Olds. It was just a good atmosphere. It was a really cool show. A lot of people from all over the world coming around to look at cattle. And then Borson's had that sale out there at their facility. And so a bunch of us, we went out there for the sale, but it was quite early in the day, so it was still super hot out. And we couldn't really take cattle to tie-outs. And so we left them in the barn, had a few people there watching them. And then sale goes on, and we were trying to buy some stuff, and it didn't work in our favor, and we started drinking a few beers. And then all of a sudden we realized, oh no, our cattle are still in the barns. So we all hop in a truck and we race back to Olds. But then the people that we had looking after our cattle ended up tying them out for us and making the beds. So we had to go to the liquor store and buy a few cases of beer for them.
There you go.
Yeah, we felt pretty stupid after that one.
Never a dull moment in Olds, that's for sure.
Oh God, no, there's always something.
If your younger self could have coffee with one cattle legend who you feel would provide great advice, who would it be?
So I was pretty stuck on this one for a while because there's so many great guys out there, great guys and gals that you could learn a lot from on any aspect. But I couldn't land on a single person, but I landed on two crews.
For sure.
And
You can
so
have
my
coffee
first,
with more than one person.
oh yeah, right. And so the first one I landed on would be the Wheatland crew. Just the caliber of cattle that they bring out, and they exhibit every year and they market every year is just second to none. Like you see how they picture their bulls, it's all looks super good. Yeah, it's just second to none in my opinion. All the picturing they do, the bulls, the quality, the pedigrees they put out is pretty admirable. And my second crew I've had coffee with these guys lots of times, but the Westway crew, they're good guys and gals that I've known for a little bit of time now, and gone out there the past couple of years to go clip bulls and help with sales, and I'll even help them combine this fall, and they're a great crew to work with, and I have learned lots from them and hope to continue, because yeah, they're some pretty cool cats that I admire quite a bit.
For sure. What is the most influential thing you've learned in life so far? We're getting really deep today. I don't know. I must have been in like a deep kind of like deep question mood when I wrote these questions because I'm like,
hey, I'm
looking at it now and I'm like, man, like this is we're getting pretty deep here.
Hey, that's okay. Bring the heat, Mitch. I think the most influential thing I've learned, I think I took this more towards the show side of it, is to not let one judge's opinion get you down on an animal.
For sure.
Because there's been lots of times, like this year in Olds, I had a heifer calf out that I was quite high on at the start. And then I went in the jackpot show and I just got torn to shreds.
Hey, you weren't last because that's where I was sitting. So don't worry, Kate. It's okay.
I was like, well, that sucks. And then went in the open show and the same thing happened. But I was like, okay, that's 2 judges. That's not whatever. It's one show.
Exactly.
And then went to Farm Fair and wasn't as bad, and had lots of compliments on her. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you can't let it get you down. It's just one year, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we talked about that on a previous podcast too. You know, like taking ones out and exhibiting ones that you know you're proud of and fit your program, and you know,
sure.
I think everyone's been on both sides of this stick where you know you take one out and you just can't get the right person. It's like you know you see the judge and you're like, oh, here we go, and then. You get the next show and you're like, and then you know you finally find that judge that admires her for the bull or the heifer for whatever they are, or vice versa, where it's like, man, like I just can't lose.
110%, right?
For sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
So we'll do the host gets hosted questions here. So if you got a couple of questions for me, I'll do my best to answer the best I can.
I got a few for you here, Mitch.
For sure.
I got who is a big mentor for you?
There'd be a couple. I would say one would be Al Shelton. So that would have been, I don't know. I would have been young. I probably would have been like 14 or 15. It would have been like one of my first years going to the Royal. He was working for Voss Vegas in Ontario there. And he kind of took me under his wing there for a while and like kind of got me into the fitting thing, and then like taught me a lot about that. So on the fitting side of things, that would definitely kind of be somebody who was definitely a big mentor for me. Like obviously my parents, like I think
for sure,
even outside of the cattle thing, like just kind of teaching me like my values. They weren't instilling those values in me for the cattle industry, but I think there's so much that carries over, and just being like a down-to-earth, good human being.
For sure.
And then the last person, would definitely be Lee Wilson. There's definitely a lot of times where, like I'm kind of stuck on something and you call Lee and he's always willing to chat, give you advice and giving me a shot too. Like it's, I'll remember it would have been the first year. Yeah. The first fall that I moved out here. Mm-hmm. And like on a total whim, I just called and said like, hey, do you guys need a hand at Olds? And I was ready to get my heart crushed and then be like, no, we're good. And he's like, yeah, that would be awesome. And I was like, holy shit.
Perfect.
Like, here we go. And I still remember like clear as day the first time it was like, I walk up and I remember like it was on the end at Olds and, the first heifer calf in the string, I remember looking up and the Miller Wilson sign was there, and I was like, man, like bucket list checked off.
No kidding,
so,
right?
But and Don too, and I think the whole family are such great mentors for the whole industry, and the way they track cattle and kind of how their operation works. It's they would definitely be big mentors for me as well.
That's awesome. My second question for you was, if you could pick one breed to show and raise, what would that be?
Ooh, this is kind of a tough one because the way we're going now, we're kind of getting involved in a lot of them.
Yeah, that's why I figured it'd be a fun question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably gonna stick to my guns on this one and stick with the Angus. I think in terms of like easy feeding, good haired. It really opened my eyes when we had those shorthorns this fall. I've been pretty lucky with the Angus hair.
For sure, yeah. My last question for you is, what is your favorite show and why?
I'm going to go back to Ontario for this one. Carp Fair is the best small town kind of vibe show I've ever been to. It's like, I don't know, everyone that goes, I think they always say, there's just a vibe around it. It's just like super homey, and they got probably the best part is they got a bar above the show ring.
No way.
So like whether you're, waiting for, your breed to show or whatever, you can go up and hang out in the bar. And,
that's awesome.
And like super good, like the committee there is crazy, and they do like big pizza suppers every night or
is that right?
Whatever. Yeah, after it is an awesome show, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. And, I think it's just one of those like core memory shows that I'll always be like, oh, if I could just go back to carp.
No, for sure, yeah,
for sure.
I love those smaller shows more than the big ones, honestly.
Yeah, and like don't get me wrong, like I love going to big shows, but I think there's something about those little shows and kind of like.
There's more of a personal touch on them, a little bit more heart
and the little
behind
adventures you kind of go on. It's like, wow, this person parked at the entry gate, and it's like you can't enter here, and it's like actually like that guy told me back there that I should go in here. So then you just they open the gate and then you go.
Yeah, exactly right.
For sure. We'll round her off with some rapid fire questions here, Kaden.
You betcha.
Favorite junk food?
I'm gonna have to go with Munchies and Red Bull, as well as Dr. Pepper.
There you go.
I've always called Dr. Pepper a fridge cigarette, and I stand by that. I don't know where I picked that up, but
the Americans will love you for saying Dr. Pepper. It's like water to some of them.
Oh God, I love it.
Every time it's like all the guys that I know down there, it's like every time I open a Michelob or a Dr. Pepper, I always send them a Snapchat, and I was like, I feel like you today.
Yeah, no kidding.
Best restaurant you've ever eaten at?
I'd have to say Canadian Brew House. They make a mean Caesar, and I won Oilers tickets at Farm Fair there.
Did you
back
really?
At Farm Fair, yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I guess Mom did.
Yeah,
but I was probably on my 5th or 6th Caesar,
and
all of a sudden they asked if we wanted Oilers tickets, so we entered a draw, and then they called my mom's name, and I started freaking out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Washing or blowing?
Personally, I'd like to pick the foreman position.
Supervisor.
But I'm not quite at the point in my career when I'm allowed to pick that one.
There you go.
So if I had to pick one, I'd probably do washing.
Yeah, definitely.
I find you get to have a good bullshit with a lot of the people in the wash rack a bit more, whereas blowing, I just like to have my AirPods in and just go.
Yeah. Couple wash rack beers and you're good to go.
Well, exactly, right?
Farm Fair or Agribition?
That's a tough one. I like them both. Farm Fair is a bit closer, but I think Agribition's more of an adventure for me.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like the long drive out there. Yeah, exactly, right? Like I remember a couple years ago I was in college and I was heading out there with catching a ride with Borsons and working for Tidy. And we were supposed to be leaving, I think, by like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And we didn't start packing the stock trailer till 5:30, 6 o'clock.
I remember that.
So we finally got packed up and hit the road, and drove all through the night and set up Borson's stall. And we got there and we went to Denny's, and they kicked us out because we all fell asleep in the booth. And the old server lady comes up and starts nagging on us to get the hell out of there because we were sleeping. We're like, well, at least we're not shooting up drugs, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably a good change for them in that Denny's.
Yeah, exactly right.
And the last one, what's one thing that no one would ever catch you eating?
Oh, this takes me back to summer. I was at a stag party, and we went way out west, and they were eating, what was it? I think it was smoked mussels.
Ew.
And just out of a can. And they got me to take one, and it was like 3 a.m. We were heating them up on the fire. And I tried a couple, and I puked everywhere.
Never again. I can't
No,
imagine
never.
That wouldn't be very good to start off, smoked mussels out of a can. Huh.
No, I didn't think it would be good, and I was right.
There you go.
It was not good, but...
PSA, stay away from smoked mussels in a can.
Stay the hell away from them. Boycott that fuckers.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming on, man. It was great to catch up, and we'll get to see you soon here at one of these spring shows for sure.
Yeah, you betcha, man. Thanks for having me on. I was
For
pretty
sure.
excited when you called me.
For sure. Thanks, man.